And welcome back to the Power Accountability League. I'm your pal Dan L. This is my channel. And you know who I hope is having a wonderful Christmas? Cal L. Today's video is entitled Superstitious Suspicions. And I want to show you something right off the bat here. Take a look at this. Do you see this? Can you see this? Look at that. It looks like a heart, doesn't it? A little yellow heart. Let me show you where this came from. See this? Oh, sorry, that's got Winnie the Pooh on it. Those are peanut M&Ms, and I'll show you this again. Oops, that's one side of it. You can see it's got a little chocolate, but this is a random occurrence in the manufacture of peanut M&Ms. Now you might be saying to yourself, is this consequential? I kind of want to throw it in my mouth and eat it, but I don't know. I'll think about it. It's not consequential, except it does help me start off this episode, and it helps me get into the subject of superstition. The idea, there are a lot of people on planet Earth who are very conspiracy minded. Especially there's a lot of people on the left, but I think there's more people on the right, and not as many people in the center. But a lot of people on the right who see everything through the prism of conspiracies. And I've told you from the very first videos, I don't believe in conspiracies. I accept the fact that human beings choose wrong over right. I wish they choose right over wrong, but if you leave people alone, they're going 90% of the time, they're going to choose to do the wrong thing versus the right thing, which explains why we have laws and religion. Now, I have pummeled religion on this channel, but this is a moment where I get to say something very good about religion, and I think I said it in a few other videos. Religion and laws, these are rules. Religion has rules, and laws are rules. Laws are secular rules. Like, for instance, there's a law against running a stop sign. That's a rule telling you, don't do this, don't drive your car through a stop sign. Bad things are probably going to happen if you do that. And religion, before all these codified laws, and every state has a state law library. So if you ever want to drive yourself insane, go down to the state law, or go to I guess there's an online repository. Go to the internet website of your state law library and just start reading all the laws and realize they're open to interpretation by all the judges. And then you quickly come to the conclusion, there's so many rules, we've enslaved ourselves with all these rules. But there's a reason why we have too many rules, and there's a reason why religion cares about. I've said this before. The first time we really got serious about rules was with the 10 Commandments. That wasn't a secular movement. That was a religious movement saying there are 10 rules you cannot disobey. And it doesn't matter whether you think the 10 Commandments are good commandments or bad. It was humanity saying, you know what? Our species needs a book. We need a book of rules on how to behave ourselves. Because if we don't constantly look at this book of rules, we're going to misbehave. Now, raccoons don't need a book of rules. Possums don't need a book of rules. Chipmunks, gophers, squirrels, eagles, hummingbirds, rhinoceroses, elephants, tigers, lions, bears, oh my. We're the only form of life that we know of in the universe that has to have almost a never-ending supply of rules on how to behave ourselves. And believe it or not, this little thing here, this little heart-shaped candy that's peanuts and chocolate, and it's made by M&Ms, this is going to help me explain why. This is a random event. This is simply, I'll take a good look at it, it's simply a random occurrence. And 99 out of 100 people accept, well, big deal. So, there was a manufacturing process, and it randomly put together 2 peanuts and two M&Ms, or whatever, 2 M&M peanuts, to come up with something that looks like a heart. But 1 out of 100 people are like, this means something. This has meaning attached to it. There's a hidden message in this little heart-shaped M&M. No, there isn't. As I've told you many times, the universe is random, ever-changing, and it's indifferent. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about me. It doesn't care about anyone. It just is. And most people can't accept that. And the people who really super cannot accept it, they have superstitious minds, and they don't see this the way you and I see it. This is part of a conspiracy. This is a message from God, maybe. Now, of course, if it had a picture of Mother Mary or whatever, but I'm not a picture, but an impression, You remember how people sit when people get a taco or a burrito or a sandwich, and all of a sudden there's a religious impression in the sandwich, and they're like, I see the face of Mother Mary. But the point is, it's not. It's just a random occurrence and it doesn't mean anything. But the people who affect society the most are the 1 out of 100, the 1 out of 100 people who are like, this is important. We have to learn. And these are Glenn Beck type of people. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Glenn Beck or Alex Jones. By the way, they're not. Here's the irony: Alex Jones and Glenn Beck are on the political right, and I'm on the political right. So shouldn't I be fans of theirs? I don't think they're completely evil. I think that they have superstitious brains. And I think that they constantly look for conspiracies everywhere. And that when you look for conspiracies everywhere, that leads you down a rabbit hole. And I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want you to climb into a rabbit hole and start digging down to the bottom because that's not where you need to live. You need to live up on the surface where objective reality is and accept logic, accept objective reality, and not say that, well, bad things happen because of conspiracies. Bad things happen because there are bad people and they're called the human race. 7.8 billion people on the earth, all of them are bad. There's no such thing as a good, there isn't. I wish I could say, Jordan, you mean Jordan Peterson? Yes. Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Tucker Carlson, are these people bad? All people are bad. Am I the one? No, I am as flawed and messed up as everyone else. But somehow, and I don't know where this comes from, somehow there's something inside me which prioritizes objective reality, prioritizes logic, rationality. Something inside of me says, watch out for conspiracy brains. Watch out. Don't let yourself become a conspiracy minded because I could tell you story after story about problems I have with friends, relatives, government, whether it be federal, state, or local government, organizations. And throughout my entire life, I've had, now I'm not saying all the time, but I've been a member of organizations, whether it be a corporation or whether it be a government agency, whether it be a fraternal organization. I've been the member of organizations, and there's always problems. There's power struggles and politics and all that stuff. We all go through this. It's not me. It's all of us. We deal with these problems, and the problems come from people who can't accept that this heart-shaped candy is just a random thing that has no meaning other than the fact that during the manufacturing process it came up with a heart-shaped candy. And so if you're suspicious, it's okay to be suspicious. I love it that this whole channel is dedicated to people who have critical thinking skills and they're suspicious of everything. It's okay to be suspicious and say, wait a minute, I need to dive deeper and learn. But there's a difference between diving deeper into knowledge and diving down a rabbit hole. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes those things look very much the same. Sometimes when you're trying to investigate what happened on January 6th, for a few moments, you might go down a rabbit hole that has no meaning. But I'm guessing if you're trying to investigate, and there's a documentary, I'm going to have to put a link to, there's a documentary coming out about January 6th. It was filmed by someone who is a member of Hollywood. And it exposes a lot of the problems that happened on that day and a lot of the corruption. But again, and I want to say, well, the fact that the FBI people orchestrating bad behavior on January 6th, that's a conspiracy. No, that's your government. Your government is, all they do are pretty much bad things. Actually, let me rephrase it. People in power, pretty much the reason they have power is so they can misbehave. By the way, this is a subject close to home for me. I have someone very close to me who, in his private life, behaved badly. But he also had a public life. He owned a corporation. Now, it wasn't a mega corporation. It was just a small business. But he had, a few dozen employees. But in his private life, he behaved badly. And the reason he owned his own, and it was a successful small business, but the reason he owned it is he could never work for someone else. And you know why? Because he couldn't control his negative behaviors. And if he worked for someone else, they might identify his negative behaviors and fire him. So in order for him to never have to be fired by someone, he had to start his own company. And he did, and he was successful. And he owned it for decades. This person I'm talking about no longer owns his own business, and he has it for a long time. But he spent decades owning his own business, and it was, like I said, it grew and it prospered. and it provided him with a comfortable life. But in his private life, now by the end of the ownership of the business, he had learned to behave himself. But for quite a long time, he didn't. In his private life, he didn't behave himself. Now he didn't commit major felonies. It was just he trespassed against society's norms, against the conventions and norms and what we consider, you can call it godly behavior. You can consider moral behavior. That's the way I look at it. I think morality exists without religion, though I do admit religion helps frame the question of morality. It does. And that's why whenever I beat up on religion, and I do it all the time, I'm always mindful to say there are positive aspects to religion, whether it's Christian, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Taoists, whatever it is. There is something positive because religion was the genesis of rules. Pro-civilization rules comes from religion, and then later on they were codified into the secular realm, which is what we have in the USA. The Supreme Court is not our government's not a theocracy. The Supreme Court is not 9 theologians. There's not 9 theologians on the Supreme Court. There's 9 lawyers, judges, whatever you want to call them, people who are members of the American Bar Association. And we don't want anyone in a leadership position to have to be governed by superstitious suspicions. And like I said, there's 1 out of 100 people can't see this for what it is. You can. I can see it for what it is. But it's that 1 in 100 who can't see this for what it is. These are the people who end up spending their whole life trying to get control of other people, trying to get their hands on the lever of societal power. And we have to remember never to let that happen. I picked on Glenn Beck and Alex Jones. Glenn Beck is a never Trumper. He doesn't, and Alex, I don't know what Alex Jones is, but they both. I'm not big fan. There are some good aspects to Alex Jones and Glenn Beck, but for the most part, they're not helpful because they describe everything in terms of a conspiracy, when what they should just say is, I expect my government to misbehave. I expect police to sadly misbehave. I expect people in church, the churchgoers to misbehave. I expect the priest and the pastors and the whoever runs the mosque or the whoever runs the synagogue. The people who I expect people in leadership to misbehave, but we have laws and we have religion to keep them from getting out of hand. But the only way this works is if we enforce the laws. And the nightmare situation that you and I are confronted with is the United States of America has completely abandoned the concept of the rule of law, because the rule of law implies we all are going to be held accountable when we violate the law. But you and I know that's not the way it works. And again, the reason it doesn't work, it's not because of it feels like it's because of a conspiracy. But the Democrats tell us we're Democrats, we're not going to obey the law, and our allies, we're not going to require our allies to obey the law. And for some reason, the people on the right, the Republicans, they've already told the Democrats, you guys don't have to obey the law. We're not going to do anything about it. When the Republicans had control of Congress and the White House from 2016 to 2018, and all they did was try and destroy other Republicans, circular firing squad. But today, it's important that you understand, people with superstitious minds, whether they have a good moral compass or not, they are a problem for society, because they want to convince people that bad behavior is just now I use the words elites, but there's an elite group of people who run the planet. The CEOs of the Fortune 500, President of the United States, the leaders of other countries. These people are a relatively small demographic. But it's not a conspiracy when they behave badly. They're being human. They are, and whether you're poor, middle class, or part of the elites, all humans have one trait in common. If they think they can get away with it, they're going to misbehave. And so today's episode is about don't think that everything is because of a conspiracy. Accept the fact that people are going to misbehave, and because of that, it's more important than right now. It's more important than ever that the rule of law win out. And you and I have to fight for that cause and fight for that reality and fight for that outcome. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. Bye-bye.